Welcome to Game of Books with Cathi in South Dakota.
That's me, and Christie in South Florida.
That's me. We're two newbie writers sharing our take on wine, food, and mystery books.
And the authors who write them. Join us for the fun.
Hey, Cathi, and all you mysterious foodies out there. It's 2020. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
It's still early enough, though, in January that I still have my Christmas decorations up. What about you?
No, not a one. Not one inkling. And my house is pretty bare because I didn't kind of put up other decorations I'd put away. So I'm starting the year in a very minimalistic way.
Oh, interesting. Now, did you do that before New Year's even, or did you wait till after New Year's?
No, I did it just a couple days after Christmas, maybe that first weekend after Christmas.
Wow.
I kind of am done. I'm kind of ready for like a little breath of, I don't know.
Well, I've just been too busy.
Well, that's good.
Reading all the books I got for Christmas, and and then this book that we're doing today, which only came out like December 31st. Yeah. So we had to do some quick reading, but it was a good one.
It was a good one. I love that you prioritize reading over putting your Christmas decorations away. That is a girl to my own true heart.
Oh, thanks. It's a nice effect when I'm like reading and having the Christmas tree lights behind me or something. So.
Oh, I have to say, I love putting up my Christmas decorations every year. It's such a wonderful time. Mm-hmm. But I do equally love putting them away. Or I like having them put away. I don't like doing the process.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Exactly. That's why I'm putting it off a little.
Yeah. So speaking of all the books you've been reading, we are discussing Good Girls Lie by J.T. Ellison today. And then next week, we're going to be doing a Corks and Conversation with JT herself. Yay!
Yes. Woo, woo. And I'm really excited because you have been highlighting her books and writing and her productivity advice on past episodes. I mean, I feel like I know so much about her, but I just can't wait to hear her. I'm excited.
I am quite a fan. I am quite a fan. And it's such a great way to start the year. So
yes,
she's awesome. Her book, Good Girls Lie, was awesome. It's a perfect book club pick, don't you think? Because, I mean, there's just so many things to talk about. But before we can even get to that, tell me what you have today for our food and wine pairing for a book club discussion.
Okay, so today we are having Replica Cabernet Sauvignon Just Right. And this wine is perfect for this book. And I can't even tell you all the ways it's perfect for this book, but it's such an interesting, first of all, the label's really pretty.
It is. I was just going to say, it's a lovely label.
Right. And it's like a butterfly, like the mirrored wings of the butterfly. And then we have in this book, there's so much that's deceiving, don't you think? Like everything is not as it seems.
Oh, yeah.
So, and this wine is kind of a fake. It's not.
What do you mean?
Because they call.
Wait, let me take a drink of this fake wine.
Yes, take a sip. Take a sip.
Okay.
All right. So the premise behind this wine is that they replicate expensive bottles of wine, but do it for much cheaper because it doesn't have the price for the label, And I could not find anywhere which wine this one is supposed to be replicating. I mean, like they had like in the research they told about, say, the Pinot Noir is supposed to be like this winery's Pinot Noir. But what they do is they take the fancy wines and they send it to a lab, or they work with this lab called Ellipse Analytics, and they've analyzed like 2,000 wines. And they found over 60 chemistry markers in these wines, and they match those analytes, they call them, or chemical compounds, They mean for aroma, flavors, mouthfeel, color and tint, purity and structure. And so then they take a wine that they want to replicate and they break it down to the chemical content, basically. And then they try to match it with...
I had no idea even such a thing existed.
No, I don't.
Well,
think
except
this
for
is
like
the only one.
Rolex knockoffs,
Yeah, and this is a new thing. They don't use. They just use regular wine processes, and they have family farmers and stuff. But they try to match this profile, and then they go to like their sommelier. His name is Brett Zimmerman, and Brett Zimmerman uses his elite skills of smelling and tasting the wine, and
his very important nose.
Yeah, and so he will try they'll come up with say 4 prototypes that they think are really close to like the expensive wine, and he tastes them and says, okay, well, I kind of think this one tastes the best. And so that's how they come up with their wines. And so then, it's fun because like if you knew the exact wine, you could do a blind taste test to see. And people have, like if you research it online, and that they can never pick. Yeah. There, I guess the top people can, tell because a wine is unique no matter what, but they're so close and they taste expensive. So does it taste expensive? Because this was about a $15 bottle of wine, but it's probably supposed to be tasting like a 30 or 40 bottle. Well, I wouldn't know because I never drink 30, 40 bottle of wine, but I was just going to say,
I think it's a very good wine. I am the first person to tell you that if I'm drinking a $8 or $10 bottle of wine versus a $20 bottle of wine, I can't really tell, but I enjoy this, and I'm very happy to not spend twice the cost to get this taste.
And I have tasted, expensive wines, and like say if they're all the same, like all Cabernets, and I'm comparing, I gotta say some of the expensive ones I can tell they're like, whoa, this tastes really good, and then I'll be like, oh, great, that's the expensive one.
So, I was going to say, do you think it's more of a full-bodied or smoother taste, or what's your impression, you think, when you think you're tasting an expensive wine? Because I don't know that I can do that. I don't know,
except for it's just, and it may just be I have expensive taste. Who knows? I don't necessarily go, okay. I just when I'm tasting it, I think, wow, I really like this. It's something about the way it finishes, I think, to me.
Okay. Interesting.
It's just right on my tongue more so than it doesn't pucker it too much or be too sweet. It's just something about that I like. And I guess, some people like sweet wine, so they might like the cheaper whatever. Well, this one is...
So what do you think of this?
This one is good. I like it. It's aromas of mocha, plum, and cherry spice. Enter sweet on the palate with firm tannins, mid-palate, and a long balanced finish. And I just noticed when I had it that it was... When I had that last sip, it was like kind of sweet at the end, like not sweet, but like fruity. But it has a little bit of spice to it, don't you think?
It's not a kick, but I mean, there's a little activity going on. I mean, it's a little more interesting than a usual.
Right. It's not just okay, it tastes like grapes,
Yeah. I mean, I would buy this again. I would certainly buy this bottle of wine again, for sure.
I know. I think it's good, and it's a good price, and it's pretty label, and so there you go. So anyway, that was a long thing on the wine, but it was a very interesting wine, so that's okay.
Okay, but the wine is perfect for the book, given the content
for
of
multiple reasons, and you will know once you read the book, but we can't tell you everything.
But we can't say anything.
I know. And you have to read to the last page to know. And then food, because she ate Cobb salad in the book a couple times, so I was like, well, that would be perfect because you could just have a deconstructed one. Everybody could make their own, like a big lettuce, and then you'd have the whatever chicken, egg, avocado, tomato, blue cheese, just little bowls of that, and everybody could make their own.
That'd be fun.
She did tea and biscuits, like the sweet cookie kind. So you could have that as well to follow up. And that way,
like a little
if
dessert.
somebody, and so because January especially, a lot of people are trying to be really good. So there's some people that aren't even drinking wine. So those people can have tea.
There you go.
We could have wine. There's some people that are not doing the sugar, so they can have the cookies. And then the people who are being really good have more salad. And so... Again, we're seeing two sides of the coin, so it fits the book as well.
Nice.
See?
It does. It does. Oh, you've really thought this through.
Yeah. I got it down, baby. So anyway, that's the food and wine.
So now that we have our food and wine for this selection, which is Good Girls Lie, it's time to talk about the book and the author. So J.T. Ellison is the author of Good Girls Lie. I believe this might be her 20th novel.
Wow.
Ish. I know. And as you said, I'm a big fan of JT's. She writes great mysteries and suspense and thrillers. She writes, she's written 2 different series, a bunch of very good standalones recently. And then she's also been writing for the last several years, writing together with Catherine Coulter, a Brit in the FBI series. And they just wrapped up that series last year. So she is very busy. I think it's very common for her to be putting 2 books out a year. She's active on her social media. She also writes short stories. She is busy. I mean, I could just keep going on and on. She has a really interesting background. She used to work in D.C. and in the White House, and then in private endeavors. And eventually ended up in Nashville. And Nashville has been the setting for quite a few of her books, but the setting for this book actually partially stemmed from her college experience, and so that was really interesting, I thought. So JT she writes her under JT Ellison. Her website's jtellison.com, but she also does social media under Thriller Chick. So if you're looking for her on Twitter. She writes under the lovely name of Thriller Chick, which I think is really funny.
Yeah, that is funny.
So, yeah. And so one of the things I've really liked about her is, in addition to liking her writing, and I went and saw her speak once a couple of years ago in Minnesota. I was there for some...
cool.
Which was great. And I really did go to see her. And she's wickedly funny, which I'm always a fan of. And but she really talks a lot about how to get so much stuff done. I mean, she talks about productivity a lot, which I could read and talk about for hours. instead of actually writing. I like to plan the writing. But she also gives great advice to other writers. She's just a really generous writer, I think, in general. So
well, I'm excited to talk to her.
I know. I've been a fan for a while, so I was thrilled we could start the year with this book.
Right.
So now that you've heard me talking about J.T. Ellison for so long, what did you think of the book?
I loved it. It literally was one of those books, and I know I say this all the time, and probably we fortunately have been picking a lot of really great authors that, have page turners. But this was one that I just didn't stop. I didn't stop reading it. And so, I mean, I did for like a few hours to sleep and then got up and finished it the next day because it just made me want to turn the page, Yeah. I wanted to know what was going on. I couldn't figure it out. For instance, okay, so it's in this boarding school for girls, and it's in Virginia. And that's almost all we can tell you,
Right.
except that nothing
very
is as
elite
it seems.
girls.
Yes,
Right? Yeah,
very
yeah.
elite, and all the drama that you can imagine would come along with that, along with
Yeah.
just all kinds of extra drama. And in every character, they seem to have like this double life.
Mm-hmm.
You go on this wild ride trying to figure out what's real and what's fake. And each time you start, you think you got it, then something else comes along and you're like, wait a minute. And don't you think?
Yeah. What I loved was so there's a girl who comes to this boarding school and comes under mysterious circumstances. And right away, she's talking to the woman and head of the school. And the woman is the headmistress is making it very clear to her that lies are absolutely unacceptable at the school. But here's the lie we're going to protect about you and not tell everybody. And I thought, this is going to be a wild ride because like that's the clear thing, right? Lies are not allowed, except for the ones we're just going to accept. And it just went from there where it was just. I mean, like
what's
really going on?
The one character we could probably say just nothing more except that Becca. I mean, like she's such a mean bitch, really.
Girl. She really is. I was just thinking she's a bitch. She
and
is
she's
kind of the popular girl at school, right?
And you think, okay, she's really psycho, and then the next time you turn around, she does something kind of nice, and then you wonder maybe she's just misunderstood. And it just keeps
I didn't think that.
Going, it keeps going back and forth. And, another layer gets peeled and another layer. And, every time something happens. And that's how it is with all the characters. I mean, I just thought it is. That's how you can be discussing forever, especially all the stuff that they do.
You could.
But we can't talk about it.
No. And then, so you have the kind of the whole theme about what's real, what's not real, everything in between, like JT says in her log line. But then there's also, the boarding school environment. It's got some real creepy factors to it. You've got teenage girls, kind of some, I would say, I wouldn't call it hazing necessarily as much as bullying situation. I mean, there's so much here. It's just ripe for conversation.
Yes. Yeah.
But you want to do it with everybody who's read it. That's why we don't want to go too far because we don't want to make anybody
So now we're just going to say, do it for your book club and make sure everybody reads it before they come.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But it is honestly probably of all the books we've read in a while, I think this is would be the most fun book club pick just because there's so much there.
Right.
Writer's perspective. Okay, so this week for the writer's perspective, I thought it would be very logical to talk about a blog post that JT Ellison had written on her webpage. She has a whole section. I know. So embarrassed. Am I a fangirl or what? I will have to pull it together when we talk to her next week.
Okay.
But she has a tab for writers, and she's got really good articles on there. And so she has a blog called The 2-Minute Rule.
Yes.
And it's pretty great because her 2-minute rule is if you don't catch your reader's attention in 2 minutes, you're sunk as a writer. 2 minutes.
That's crazy.
I know. It's
so hard, isn't it? I mean, to make it real.
That's why I've rewritten my first chapter 55 times.
I know. I'm back to rewriting mine
real.
as well. And I'm like, it's just, you have to make it as real. You can't just be like, okay. I mean, you can to an extent. She even says it. You could put like a body in the beginning and whatever, but you've got to make it so that somebody cares enough about that body or that whatever to keep going too. So you can't just like be oh, wow, something great happened and then have no reason to care about why or anything, So it's tricky.
Right. Yeah, she said so now that you know that, we need to get this done the first 2 minutes, and she does advocate a death or a body right away. But she said, here's how you do it, is you need a sharp, strong voice, an engaging style, starting the action and the story immediately. And that's a lot to do in the first 2 minutes. I think I mean, I think a lot of writers start with the tendency that, there's so much backstory in your brain,
Yes.
and that's what you want to start with, right? Well, nobody
Right.
wants
You need to lay the land, but
yeah.
you really can't. You got to lay it a little bit later, I guess, and just give enough information to make it clear, but...
Yeah. And I would say, I would argue that JT did this very successfully in her own book, in this latest Good Girls Lie. I mean, that first scene is haunting. It is absolutely haunting, and you completely are hooked, and you want to know what the heck happened.
I know.
In that scene. And I mean, I just, when I read this blog post, I thought, oh man, did she write this? Yeah, she wrote it before she wrote this book, because boy, does she follow her own advice. But she gives a lot of, examples of other authors and how they do this. She mentions John Sanford and John Connolly and Tammy Hogue and P.J. Parrish.
Yes.
We met P.J. at Sleuthfest. So it's, it's something to aspire to for sure.
Okay, Cathi, before we say what's going on in our worlds, what is the verdict on the wine? Does it taste like an expensive Cabernet? We've had a few sips.
I mean,
now.
I think it.
Okay.
I think I've had a few also. I think it tastes like a very nice bottle of wine. I would be happy to give it as a nice gift to somebody.
Okay.
I'd be happy to serve it. I'm down. I want to try the other varieties.
Yes.
Yeah, I have to say, I do think it'd be really fun to have the original and the replica and do a taste test. That'd be really fun.
We should do that. We should do that when we get together.
Yeah, we should do that.
All right. That's a plan.
Yeah.
Along with all our other plans.
I know. So many plans.
Yes.
So, Christy, tell me what you mentioned, that you're reworking your first chapter.
Yes, I am.
Give me the skinny. What's going on?
Well, I got some advice from an author that I respect, and so I was like, all right, you're right. I thought it was done, but might need a little bit more, and so I'm reworking it a little. As you know, that's what happens.
I do.
And you just don't know when to stop. So, yeah.
I think you will know when to stop. I do. I actually think you will. I'm telling myself that.
I thought I did, but...
Oh, that's true.
That's when you have to have somebody else really that tell you the nuts and bolts. And then again, you have to understand that it sometimes takes a little bit of different perspective.
Well, I would think the time that has elapsed since you touched it last, as far as editing goes, has to alone give you a fresh perspective. I mean, just,
Yeah, it does, but it's still you need somebody else to look at it, honestly. I do like to leave a lot for people's imagination. I feel like they don't have to be told every single little thing, but I need to lay more out as far as description, just so that it really sucks somebody in, And I really wasn't kind of doing that because I thought it was there, but then when I look at it from somebody else's eyes, I'm like, oh, I guess they really didn't see what I saw because I didn't, make it as clear as I could.
So are you talking about like settings or characters or just... Yes, all of that.
Yes. Well, because I knew where she was and I did give some indications. Oh, it's hot, it's whatever. But I didn't pull them into her as not much, where we were looking at it through her eyes, which would make us want to know more about her sooner, instead of making her... She's sort of mysterious, but you can be mysterious and also likable enough that you want to, want to love the character enough to invest yourself into the book. And I wasn't making her as whole, I think, in the first few pages. I mean, once you get into the book and stuff, you learn a lot about her, I think. And, most people have not had a problem, but that's the problem with trying to get a book sold. I mean, her agent gets 20,000 submissions a year. 20,000 and chooses six out of 20,000. So, you You have to catch
Yeah.
it in the beginning, It's not, it's with your debut novel for sure, So,
Well, for sure. And I'm doing the math right now here. It's 20,000 divided by 52 weeks. She gets 385 submissions a week on average.
wow.
That's...
Yeah, I'm sure different agents get different amounts, but
sure,
that's crazy.
Yeah. It's a sizable amount, and so you do have to stick out, and so
wow.
That 2-minute rule. Ugh,
Yep.
ugly.
Yep. Uh-huh.
Well,
so
we're
what
both
are you
working
doing?
on the
Are
same
you
stuff.
still working on yours then too? Your beginning? Or?
I'm
You're moving
today.
through.
I'm in the middle.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to make a pass through the whole thing.
Yes.
And I just today was working on a couple chapters just right before the mid kind of culmination, kind of right before a big scene.
Mm-hmm.
And in the middle of Act 2, I guess you can say. And, some days or some chapters, I think, I really like this chapter. I mean, today I actually, I made a note to myself because I'm very hard on myself.
Yes.
I'll be honest about that.
Uh-huh.
But that's, I don't mind that necessarily,
Right.
but I did make a note. I liked a chapter in particular, and I forced myself to write down why I liked it.
Oh, good.
And so I put a sticky note on my desk and said, I like chapter 36, and here's why. And so I'm plugging away. It's
well, you're killing me with the suspense. I want to know what happens.
I have enough pressure on myself the way it is. I'll get it to you when I can. It's a daunting thing to try to fit it in, but I'm doing the best I can.
Well, what you could do is you could just give me a chapter at a time, over the weeks, if you're already doing
a serial. I'll give you
a serial. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. All right. Well, great. Well, at least we're working in this new year.
We're working.
And we got a big one coming up next week. We're going to be talking with JT Ellison. So we got that Quartz and Conversation going. So everybody should listen.
Yes, so we already know our next 3 books we're discussing, and we're talking to 2 of those authors, so we've got a lot coming up.
Yep, and I'm gonna start putting more out on Twitter, I think, so that everybody can follow and get the books ahead of time if we know them and stuff. That'll be fun.
I think
for our
great.
mysterious foodies out there. All right. Well, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thanks to our mysterious foodies out there for listening and sharing. Check out our website, gameofbookspodcast.com, where you can find links to all we talk about. And if you subscribe to our weekly newsletter, you can get those links sent directly to you, along with any exciting updates. We are also on Facebook and Twitter under @GOBWriters.
And if you enjoyed this episode as much as we did, we would love to hear from you, and please subscribe to Game of Books wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss any of our book club ideas and Quarks and Conversations with award-winning and best-selling authors.
That's all for today's episode of Game of Books Podcast, where we share food, wine, and mystery every Friday morning, just in time for the weekend.
This is Christy
and Cathi
saying thanks for listening.
Bye,
everybody.